Welcome to the High Risk Payments Playbook, the podcast for partners and merchants operating in complex industries. If you're navigating chargebacks, underwriting challenges, compliance hurdles, reserve or volume limit challenges, and approval roadblocks, you're in the right place. Each week, we break down the realities of high-risk credit card processing, what works, what doesn't, and how to build sustainable payment strategies focused on revenue growth for industries where others struggle. This is where strategy meets execution. Let's get started. Hi, everybody. It's your host, Lisa Frixell, and my co-host, Renee Medgavar. We are going to answer some podcast audience questions today. Huh, Renee?
Absolutely, yes. Hi, guys. Hi, Lisa. I'm so glad to be here again.
Yeah, me too. It's always exciting, isn't it?
It is always exciting. Yes, you are correct about that.
I understand that we've had more questions come in from our audience, things that we haven't discussed before. So let's jump in. What's on everybody's mind?
Yeah, let's do it. The first question that we have from the audience is, how can I get can I get a merchant account with bad or no credit?
Oh, yeah,
Really
that
good
is
question.
a question. Frankly, the answer is yes, but it's going to come with contingencies. So some of the and I'm not an underwriter. Let's be clear. I don't work for a bank. I'm not somebody looking at your credit specifically, but I can give you a general idea of what they look for. So if your credit stinks, it's going to depend on how bad it stinks, right? Like, are you in sixes? Are you in the threes? Like, where is your credit score on the spectrum from, I think the lowest, I may not be right about this, but I think it's 300 up to 850. So that's the potential spectrum. If you are in the sevens or better, you won't have an issue. Sixes, it could depend on why, and, high sixes or low sixes. If you're a three, honestly, the answer is probably not. If your credit score is 300 or 350, 400, probably not. You're going to have to go with an aggregator. However, if you're in that mid-range, the answer is maybe. And it's going to depend on what type of business you have. The lower the risk, the better, of course. Do you have money in the bank, right? Because you can have bad credit and still have money in the bank.
Yeah, that is correct.
So are you liquid? Do you have assets? What do your personal financials look like? Because if you're a sole prop, they're going to look at those for sure. If you are an LLC, they're going to want your business financials. And frankly, if your business financials are pretty healthy, you've been consistent, you've never been negative in your accounts, you've always had liquid money, the answer is yeah, you might pay a higher rate, or you might have some like reserve contingencies, but the answer is yeah, you can likely get a merchant account.
Awesome. Thank you. Now, the next one that we have is, how do we scale volume without triggering reviews?
Oh, yeah, that's a good one too. Wow,
Yeah.
our audience is on it today, aren't they?
Oh, yeah.
They're smart cookies, our merchants. Oh, my goodness sakes. Okay. How do you grow your business without triggering like a bank review or a bank audit? Honestly, it's probably easier to tell you what's going to trigger an audit, right? So banks generally just look at every merchant. They, as long as you're within X amount of range, plus or minus, they're likely not going to bat an eye at you. What's going to cause them concern are merchants that operate on giant peaks and valleys. And I see this a lot. Well, we do, and you can address it too, Renee. When we have businesses that operate on launches, right? Happens a lot with like coaches and info products or nutraceuticals, right? That kind of environment. They have big launches and they spend millions of dollars, would you say, on marketing?
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
They do those merchants do a tremendous amount of pre-marketing. Some even do pre-sell, right? They sell a product and say, we're not going to ship it until this date, which great, ship it all, ship every last bit of it. But those merchants their volume is very up and down. It's very inconsistent. It's not, oh goodness, what's the word I want? It's not, when you expect something,
They're not. Predictable,
Predictable,
maybe.
predictable.
Hmm.
Yes,
Hmm.
that exactly. That's the word I wanted. When your volume is less predictable,
Hmm.
that's when banks really care, right? That's when they're looking. Those red flags are going to go up for them every single day.
Hmm.
And the more they see your name, the more concerned about you they get, right? So the
Yeah.
less they see your name when they're looking at their volumes and their daily figures and what have you, uh, the better. So you
Hmm.
want to stay out from under their eyeballs. And the best way to do that is to be as consistent as you possibly can. So if your business model is like the peaks and valleys, like we talked about,
Hmm.
you should expect that they're going to do reviews of you every time you push volume, right? I mean, how often, Renee, do we see this? And it comes from like every one of our banks, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
I mean, we
So
we see it every day, to be
yeah,
honest.
we do actually. Well, maybe not. Yeah, maybe every day. Yeah, you're
Yeah.
probably right. You know better than me. And so it is. It behooves you if you are a business that operates that way to get ahead of it. Right. Make
Hmm.
sure you send us a note and say, "Hey, having a launch May 15th or July 20 or whatever," and and we think we're going to do $3 million, or we think we're going to do $19 million, whatever you're expecting. Please let us know so we can get ahead of that. And and then for your standard merchant, honestly, if you're consistent about your volume, you don't spike chargebacks or refunds or any fraudulent activity, they a bank isn't going to spend their time on you, right?
Yeah. No,
They
that's
are
true.
looking for the folks who are problematic. They are looking for the folks who challenge their risk appetite. And if they think that you are a merchant who does that, they're going to look at your numbers in detail every single day. So, my advice, of course, is to communicate with us, stay ahead of it.
Hmm.
If you are that business, you're going to need to be liquid, more liquid than others, to cover those spikes. They may hold a portion of your funds for a few days just to make sure those transactions settle properly and
Hmm.
are
Or clean.
funded by the issuing banks properly.
Hmm.
Because think about, Renee, if you had a huge spike in volume because you did a launch, right?
Hmm.
And your expectation is you're going to sell, let's just say $10 million on that launch from $10 million from 100 million customers, right?
Hmm.
That's a lot of transactions, isn't it?
Yep, that is
So if
correct.
the bank sees 10,000 transactions from the same card number, or from any of the info that they look at, which is a lot,
Mhm.
a lot, that's going to say to them, "Ooh, something wicked this way comes. This may not be real, right? These might be fraud." And so they're going to hold the money associated with that portion of your sales until they feel confident that either a whole lot of people in that geography bought your product, or whatever caused those 10,000 sales to the same card, which probably isn't real, right?
Yeah.
Then when they're satisfied, they will release your funds. But like that's an example of the things that they look for that that would raise an eyebrow. And again, I always go back to communicate, rock, communicate, right? Because that is, I mean, I can't say it enough. That is how you keep your behind in the clear, your cash flow solid. You don't have any migraines about your merchant account, right? And I mean, at the end of the day, that's what we all want.
Yeah, and also, I mean, you don't have to worry about your business. I mean, let us handle your business. Let us provide the information that you need to know in advance, so then we can
Yes.
attack, and we have an action plan for you, and we can provide tips
Yeah.
on how we can move on, with your business to avoid any of this happening to your account.
Yes.
Are you ready for the next question, Lisa?
I don't know. Am I? Let's see.
Well, this is a very important and interesting question as well. It says how to choose a high risk processor.
Okay. So choosing a processor,
Hmm.
it's going to depend almost entirely on your business, to be honest.
Yes.
So if you are a high risk merchant of any kind, you need to go with a processor that's willing to take high risk. Like that's the fundamental, if you want a high risk, if you're a weapons manufacturer or retailer or a nutraceutical company or
Hmm.
a travel agent or a travel company or an info product or a coach or any of the high risk verticals, focus on the people that will take you. There's no point in wasting your time with the bigs of the world, the big four, because they don't want high risk, and so why waste your time there? So
Correct.
find a processor that's willing to take high risk and has an interest in it. Find one that has experience. If you're googling and you come up against abcdefg processor.com and they're brand spanking new and they're like, we just hit the market, we can underwrite anything, blah blah blah, we want your business.
Yeah.
Is that your choice? Look, seriously, this is your cash flow, right? This is the
Correct.
lifeline of your business. Do
Hmm.
you really want that in the hands of somebody brand new to the industry? Right?
Hmm.
Really, do you? Because we all know the answer is no, you do not. You want somebody with experience with your kind of business, perhaps even as granular as down to experience with your vertical, right?
Hmm.
And because they know how to present you, they know the questions to ask, they know the paperwork that's going to be needed, because there are like travel addendums and firearms addendums. And honest to God, I swear to you, there's 150 million addendums, but there's
Hmm.
specific paperwork that needs to be done for each not every merchant, but a lot of industries have specific paperwork. And if you don't
Correct.
fill it out, it makes you look bad, and then you get declined, and we already know once you've gotten declined by one, it makes it harder to get with the others, right?
Correct.
So for God's sake, choose a processor who has experience and who has worked with your industry for a goodly amount of time. Also, you want somebody who can get you in front of a number of different banks. Having just one or two on the back end does not give you options, right? Because banks change their appetite for certain industries. Like Renee,
Yes.
recently we've seen banks decide they don't want to work with adult, right? That's been
Correct.
happening like quite a bit lately, right?
Yeah. For the last couple of weeks, I will say yes.
Yeah, at least. And
Hmm.
so, you have to have a processor that knows those things, knows who to go to, and has options for you. Because if
Hmm.
they only have one or two banks on the back end and neither one of them want to handle weapons, and you're a weapon retailer, that's not helpful to you. You've just wasted your time. So
Correct.
make sure that they have choices and options that make sense for you, and
Hmm.
also make sure they have the products that you want. So, for instance, if you are an online merchant, make sure they have gateway options and they can set you up on a gateway that they're compatible with your shopping cart or the structure that you have in place already.
Hmm.
The last thing that you want is to spend all the time and energy to build out this beautiful website with all of this capability. And it's just the creme de la creme for selling your product, to find that nobody's compatible with your shopping cart and you can't get a merchant account, right?
That is correct.
Because you could have the most beautiful product on the planet, but if you can't sell it, what are you going to do, right? Like
Hmm.
you're striving to be the best selling product, not the best looking product. And so it's critical that your processor have the products that you want and need.
Yes, absolutely. And also, it's very important that you take into consideration as well. If you're looking for that processor, pay attention if they call you, if they actually wanted to know a little bit more about your business, and they just send you a form or an email. So how they can understand, what you're doing and how your volume is and how they
Yeah,
can present that to a bank. That's gonna
exactly.
be very hard.
Yeah,
So
exactly. Plus, there is something about your intuition. Trust your gut. If you're on
correct.
the phone with somebody and they're saying things that just don't make sense, or your gut just says, I don't think that's true, move
Hmm.
on, right? There are too many choices out in the world to do business and let your cash flow rest with somebody you don't trust.
Correct. And
Yeah.
also because time is a key element here. Time
Time is
kill
money.
deals.
Yes,
Yes, nice. Are you ready for the next one?
I think so. What
Okay.
is it?
Wow, you're gonna love this one. Well, it says warning signs on your merchant account or red flags that your merchant account might be shut down.
Okay. What is a good red flag? We've already talked about this spikes and dips in processing volume. I think
Hmm.
everybody understands that by now.
Yeah, we talked about
We
chargebacks as well.
Yes, you're absolutely right. Spikes and dips and chargebacks will definitely have an impact. I honestly, I think the one size fits all answer to this is, don't be stupid. Don't do things that are fraudulent. Don't mislead customers.
Yes.
Make sure that customers, when they need to get a hold of you, they know how, that it's easy for them. Make sure that your policies are clearly displayed, especially if you're an e-commerce merchant. Although
Hmm.
here is a little detail that is sometimes critical. If you are a retail merchant and you are surcharging, it is required by the card brands, by Visa and MasterCard. They have rules, you guys, and it's
Hmm.
not limited to what percentage of your fees you can move forward to the customer. There
Hmm.
are actually a handful of rules, maybe a half a
Correct.
dozen. One of which is you have to have signage at your point of sale that says if you are using a credit card, you are going to be charged whatever your percentage is on top of your transaction amount. And it has to be clearly posted, and there's specific language that any good processor will get for you,
Hmm.
provide to you, that is compliant, right?
Hmm.
Because it's literally not just about you're tacking on a fee to your customers. You have to let them know that. Your customers have to have a choice. If they don't want to pay that extra fee, then they can give you cash, they could pay with a debit card, whatever,
Hmm.
but they have to have a choice.
Yeah, you
And
need to be
that
transparent
means
with your
that
customers. Hmm.
that's right. Communication. If I said it once, I've said it 4,000 times. Communication is key, right? So there's a little
Hmm.
tidbit that we weren't really talking about, but it's important and it's critical. The rules around surcharging, maybe sometime we can take a deep dive on those, but you guys need to know what they are. You can't go into it blind and then say, "Well, I didn't know," because the
Hmm.
card brands, here's the truth. There is such a thing as like the Visa police and the MasterCard police. And these are people who
Hmm.
are employed by the card brands, and they go out into the world and they shop at your store and they see that you're surcharging and they look for the signage and they look for the notes on the receipt. They look to make sure you're fully compliant. And if you're
Hmm.
not, they're going to send you a letter and it's going to say, "You're not compliant. Here's what you need to change." You have one chance to do that. When that person comes back to your store to shop a second time and sees that you're not compliant, you will get a fine. And fines begin for any size merchant at $25,000 and they go up from there. So,
Wow.
who wants to spend $25,000 of your hard earned money paying a fine to the card brands, right? Like,
Yep.
none of us want
Hmm.
that.
None.
So just make sure that you are compliant. Ask the questions. Ask your processor, what do I need to do to be compliant for surcharging? But
Hmm.
then you have to do it, right? You have to follow the rules. And oftentimes people just think, well, I'm surcharging and I'm under the percentage limit. I'm good. Everything's good. That's not necessarily true. So heed that warning. If you're surcharging, make sure you understand what compliance really means,
Yeah, make the difference, and make your business actually look different as well.
right?
Absolutely, yes. Alrighty. Well, actually, I think we have, those are the only questions that we have for today,
Okay,
Lisa.
cool. I got a question from a merchant we were on the phone with the other day. It didn't come in through our podcast feedback, but I thought it was
Hmm.
a really smart question. So, we have a minute. Let's just address it.
Let's do it.
It was a lady who had 3 locations, right? And, she's in health and wellness and, offers a variety of services from, like, massage therapy to Reiki and a whole menu of things. And we were talking about fees, and she asked about one particular fee, and she said it's monthly. And she said, "Is that per location?" And it does. Monthly fees do happen to be per location.
Hmm.
But she asked, sort of why is that? And so what I needed to help her understand is that yes, she had 3 locations, but they all had slightly different names. Like one was inside another store, so it was called, let's just call it the McDonald's Wellness Center, which is so ironic, I know, but the McDonald's Wellness Center, and then she had Spiffy's Wellness Center, and then she had Monday Wellness Center, right?
Hmm.
Like most of their names are the same, but they're not exactly the same.
Hmm.
And so what you need is to make sure that you have 3, in her case, 3 separate merchant accounts, because you can't sell something to a merchant from the McDonald's Wellness Center when that customer was actually at Monday's Wellness Center, right? Because
Yep.
they are going to expect to see on the receipt Monday Wellness Center. They are going to expect to see on their statement, on their bank statement or on their credit card statement, Monday's Wellness Center.
Hmm.
And if it doesn't match, if that consumer was, you know, uh, looking for a way out, right?
Hmm.
To get a massage and a facial and whatever all they bought and not have to pay for it,
Yep.
they could issue a chargeback. And who do you think's going to win that, Renee?
The customer for sure.
The customer, yeah,
Hmm.
100%. Because where they shopped, where they got those services was not exactly where their receipt says and where their let's just say bank statement says. And
Correct.
that literally means you don't have a chance at all of winning that chargeback. And and if they communicate with their bank and say, "Well, I didn't shop there, I shopped here." Their bank's going to say, "Yeah, you're right." And
Hmm.
guess what, Mr. Customer, you get all of your money back. Guess what, Mr. Merchant? You still have to pay your staff. You still have to pay your lease on your rental on your space. You still have to pay your electric bill. You still have to pay yourself. You still have to pay all of those things. And your customer didn't pay you,
Yeah. And
right?
you provided a service for free. Hmm.
You most certainly did. So it's oftentimes merchants, they just that first of all, they don't know, right, that the
Hmm.
rules are this intricate. And secondly, they don't know themselves how to set it up. And that's why it becomes even more important that you trust the merchant processor that you're working with, because
Hmm.
they have to know how to do this that benefits you, right? That keeps you from that kind of risk. So,
Correct.
it's smart to go in and be honest about what your business looks like. I often see merchants exaggerate their volume. They're like, Renee, I know you've seen this. They come in and they're like, "We do a half a
Yes.
million dollars a month in volume." And they do more like 80, right? And they're
Hmm.
like, "Well, we're going to get to a half million dollars." Great. I really genuinely hope you do. But when a bank is looking at your risk, it is much riskier to have a $500,000 worth of transactions than it is 80K worth of transactions, right?
Correct.
So you're
Correct.
doing yourself a disservice,
Hmm.
because you want the banks to look at you and measure your risk profile based on where you actually are, not where you want to be and hope you are, a year from now
Hmm.
or whatever, right?
Hmm.
So for for the love of mud, be honest with your processor, because frankly, they're going to look at your statements and find out anyway. So if
Yes.
you put on an application 500K and your processor in the bank looks at your statements and they see 80K, honestly, the best they're going to do is laugh away that application. Sorry. The worst they're going to do is decline you. They're going to look at that and maybe some other inconsistencies and say, these guys have no idea what they're doing. And they're not going to want to take risk on a business that they think doesn't know what they're doing.
Correct. And that's why choosing the right processor It's very important because, this is information that you should know in advance. And also there are ways that you can start with a certain volume, and then along the way, you can definitely go ahead and revisit it and see it, and then just request a different one.
That's
But
right.
with consistency and of course, you already have something built, a really good, what was the word that we, predictable
Mhm.
volume. So that's going to help you to get into that goal that
Yep,
you have.
100%. You're totally right. So I guess to sum things up for today, Mr. Merchant, be honest with your processor,
Hmm.
follow your gut, shop around. Like, you don't have to go with the first person that you talk to. Find maybe an industry veteran that you trust that can look at what your offers are from each processor. It pays off long term if you do a little footwork in the beginning.
Yep, that is correct.
Yeah, exactly right. Is that all we have for today, Renee?
It looks like that's all that we have for today, Lisa. And we are so happy to receive this. I mean, to receive more questions,
Yep.
and provide all this very important information to our audience. And of course, all the merchants out there that wanted
Yeah,
to
true
open a
story.
merchant account.
That's
Mhm.
right. True story. Please send us your questions, your comments, your thoughts, your reviews, your feedback. Genuinely, we love engaging with the audience that we're talking to, and we adore you. And the more you share with us, the more we can help you be the smartest merchant you can be.
Correct.
Cool. Okay, Renee, until next time.
Until next time, Lisa. And guys, thank you.
Thanks. Thanks for listening to the High Risk Payments Playbook. If this episode brought you value, share it with a partner or a merchant who operates in a high risk industry. For more insights and resources, please visit us at zenti.com. That's ZENTI.com. Until next time, operate with efficiency, process smarter, and stay ahead of risk.